final week of the Crochet Society Crochet Along. This is the Coco Cushion Cowl, designed by Tiam Safari of Knit Safari on Instagram. Today what we're going to be doing is finishing off our work, so we're going to be making the back pieces, joining our work, and then also adding the tassels. So first of all, we're going to start off with making the back pieces. So for this, we're going to be using the main colour, which is a Wahoo. So go ahead and grab that colour and then meet me back in just a moment. So I wanted to talk about the hook sizes before we move on. The recommended hook size for this pattern is a 5mm crochet hook. However, if you've watched my previous videos on this, which I'm sure you have if you've got to this point, you'll probably know that I used a 4mm for my personal tension for the squares. However, I found when I was doing the back panel for this project, it was coming out a little bit too small because we're using double crochets. So I actually went up a hook size or half hook size to a 4.5mm crochet hook for this back panel. So just be mindful of that. Have a look at the dimensions on the pattern and just see which hook size might be best for you. So as I say, I've used a 4.5mm, and once this is blocked slightly, that will go to the correct size, which is around 38 centimeters. So I'm going to demonstrate this in a much smaller swatch for you, just because it's a pretty easy thing to do. Right, we're going to make 2 of these back panels, which is going to consist of 44 stitches and 30 rows. And as I say, we're going to make 2 of those. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my main colour yarn and show you what to do. Okay, so as I say, a much smaller swatch because you don't need to sit here and watch me do rows and rows of double crochet. We're going to be using the main colour, which is a Wahoo. We're going to start off with a slip knot and insert your crochet hook, whichever hook size you have selected. And for your project, you're going to go ahead and chain 45. So that's yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and yarn over, pull through. So go ahead, work your chain of 45 and then meet me back once you're ready. Okay, so for your row 1, we're going to start in the second chain from the hook, so not the one that's on the hook. We have 1 and 2, and we're going to go ahead and double crochet into that stitch. So this is double crochet in the UK. In the US, that is known as single crochet. And you're simply going to double crochet into each chain all the way across. So for your back panel, you will have 44 stitches in total. So it's really important that you are counting your stitches for each row so that you don't gain or lose any stitches. So we'll work across row 1 to the end. So as I say, mine is a very small swatch. And then you're ready for row 2. So row 2 to 30 is exactly the same. We're going to chain 1, which does not count as a stitch, turn our work, and then into this very first stitch just here at the base of the chain 1, we're going to go into the stitch and double crochet. So double crochet all the way across. So again, remember to count your stitches. If you find it easier, you can insert a stitch marker every 10 stitches or so, perhaps, just so that you don't have to keep count, or if you lose count, you don't have to keep recounting. So make sure you are doing all of those stitches, chain 1, turn the work, and repeat. So as I say, you're going to do 44 stitches in each row. There are going to be 30 rows in total. Once you have finished, you are going to tie off your work as you would do normally, weave in the ends, and then meet me back once you have done 2, and we'll join the pieces together. Okay, so now that you've done both of your panels and finished all of your pieces, we're going to go ahead and join them together. Now you may wish to block your squares and your rectangles before we go ahead and do this. Obviously do it to the sizes that are recommended in the pattern. You may need to do it a little bit more on the rectangles with it being slightly different shape, and we've used more stitches in that one, so go ahead and block them if needed. I'm going to be using the 4mm crochet hook, which is what I used to make my squares or my pieces. Obviously I used a different one for the back pieces, but I'm going to use a 4mm for this. And what we're going to do is you want to be having a look in your pattern for the layout of this. I have this on the side, so this would be starting from this side working across, but I've just turned them this way for now because I'm going to be joining them all this way first and then do the other join in the opposite direction. So I'm joining the columns here and then I'll join across after I've done this. So what we want to do is find the corner stitch on this first square. This is in the second column along. So for this particular square, we have these two sets of treble crochet. So treble crochet here, treble crochet here. The corner section is just there. So I'm just going to go into the full stitch for now. I'm then going to take this rectangle and find the corner stitch, which we have the chain one and we have the corner stitch just there. So I'm going to go in there and slip stitch, and that's just to give it a sturdy join. What we're going to do now is work our way across, just working into the front loops only of these stitches. So as I'm looking at this block facing towards me, I'll just zoom in so that you can see a little bit better. I'm going to go into the front loop only of the next stitch and then the front loop only of this next stitch on the next block. Now remember, as we're looking at it, it's not this one, it's the one furthest away, and pull through for a slip stitch. So essentially it's the two outer loops that we're working into, and that's so that we can get that nice slip stitch join on the front of our work. So you're essentially just going to work your way across, working into the next stitch of each block. And then obviously as we're working on a square and then the other one is a rectangle, we're going to run out of stitches in just a moment. So I'll just show you how you're going to move on to the next. Oops, nearly went in the wrong one there. So make sure that you are working into that front loop only of both of the blocks. So my last stitch of this block, because we have our two trebles there, is this next one here. Front loop, and slip stitch. So now we've run out of stitches on this square, so I'm going to pick up this next one. Now this next square in particular just has two trebles into one space, which is the corner space. So I'm going to go into that front loop of that next treble and then the front loop of the next stitch on the rectangle, and then continue to build in this way. So you want to take your time with this, making sure that you're working into the corresponding stitches. Obviously once you get to the end of this one, you'll have two more squares to add. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work my way up, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how to continue to add these on, and then you should be well away with the rest of the blocks. So meet me back in just a moment. Okay, so I've worked my way to the end here. It looks like I haven't gone all the way to the end, but when you look at your stitches, That is correct. I am in the right spot because we have the chain 1 space just here, and these are the 2 trebles. So don't worry if it feels like you haven't gone all the way to the end. It will work out once you go ahead and work your way across the other side. So now I'm going to find this next square, and this next square has those set of 2 trebles, or 2 sets of 2 trebles. So we're going to be working into this second set, the first treble of the second set, that is that corner. And then onto this side we have the 2 trebles, and then we're going to be working on this closest treble just here, and slip stitch. And then you just continue on, but you're now working in these next 2 squares, like so. So what you want to do is work your way across the cushion, joining the blocks, and you'll be working, once you've done these 2 rows together, you'll add the next row and then the next row. And then you'll come back and I'll show you how to go across the opposite way as well. Okay, so once you've done all of your seams going this way, we now want to work our way across these edges. Now obviously there's going to be instances where there is just a small section that you need to do here and here, but I'll demonstrate on this line here so that you can see how I'm going to work across this section. So as before, I'm going to find that corner space on this first block, and then also find the corner space on the second block, and I'm going to slip stitch those together through the entire stitch. Now I'm going to go through the front loop and the front loop and slip stitch. So just exactly the same as what we've been doing with the other stitches. So just working our way across. And then when you get to the corner, do your last stitch. And then we're going to move over into the next section. Now you've got 2 options here. You could slip stitch into that section, which I would suggest because it makes a nice transition over to the next. Let me just show you what it would look like if you went straight over. So if you went straight over, you would end up with a larger section just here. So if I just zoom in, you'd end up with a larger stitch. So what I'm going to do is slip stitch into that join and then continue with the slip stitches, and it just makes it look a little bit more consistent in terms of your stitches. So you want to go ahead and work that all the way across, also do these smaller sections here, and then meet me back and I'll show you how to put on the 2 back pieces. Okay, so now you've done your back panels and also have your front panel all joined. What we're going to do is lay the 2 back panels together with a 7 centimetre overlap. Just ignore that little end there. You should have sewn these in by now. So we're going to have about a 7 centimetre overlap of the 2 back panels. We're then going to take the front panel and we're going to have them laying wrong sides together. So if we lay it down like this, again, excuse my ends, you will have already done that. We're going to start to double crochet these 2 panels together, working through both thicknesses and all 3 thicknesses when we get to this section. So it's going to be pretty simple. We're going to double crochet them together. So I'm going to take my 4.5mm crochet hook for this and the main colour, and I'm going to find the corner space for the front panel and the back panel, slip stitch that on, and then I'm going to double crochet all the way across. So first of all, I'm just going to chain 1 and double crochet into that same space, and now I'm just going to work my way across, doing a double crochet into the next stitch and then also a double crochet into the next corresponding stitch. So remember, in the US this is known as a single crochet, and you're just going to work your way all the way round. So I'm just going to work my way to the opposite corner. So pause the video, work your way to the corner section, and I'll show you how to work around there, and then I'll also show you how to work through the 2 thicknesses. Okay, so I've worked my way across this top panel now. I will just mention that I have kind of adapted to where these joins are, just to make sure that it fits nicely and sits the way that I want it. So when I've got to these corners, I haven't necessarily gone into each and every stitch. I've just done it how I feel sits the nicest. So for example, I have, I think I've missed a stitch here and just gone straight into that seam. Or here, for example, you can see that I haven't worked into that corner. I just left it and went straight into the seam. So please feel free to have a play around and see what fits the best for you. And now when I've come to this corner, what you want to do is maybe do 2 or 3 stitches into that same corner space, just to carry yourself round that corner. I think I'm going to do 2 and then continue to work down this side space here. So when you're working down the sides, you're working into the row ends of the back panel and into the stitch of the first panel. So again, what I recommend is that you adapt however you need to adapt. Please make sure that you are stopping and checking and just making sure that it's lying correctly as you go along. It's really important that you kind of stop, take a step back and assess it as you're going round, rather than just doing it and then realizing once you get to the very end that it's not quite sitting right. And as you can see here, sometimes it might just need a little bit of an extra wiggle of your crochet hook to get that through both thicknesses. So I'm just going to work my way down now until I get to where I'm on 3 panels, and then I'll meet you back and show you how to work through there. Okay, so I've started to attach this panel now, and I'm now at the section where this next panel is going to slide in. So I'm going to slide this in just underneath. So what I'm going to do is go into this next stitch and then into the row end of the next panel, take this next panel, the second back panel, go into that first row end, which is just here, and then double crochet through all 3 of those thicknesses. And again, please make sure that you are working nice and methodically, taking a step every so often or a break every so often to make sure that everything is lying nice and smoothly. And then you're going to continue round in this way so that you're joining all of those panels together. So go ahead and work your way round to the beginning and then meet me back for the finishing touches. Okay, so I've worked my way all the way around. I'm going to do 1 more double crochet into that corner stitch and then join in the first stitch with a slip stitch and go ahead and fasten off. and then you just need to sew in that end. And there we have the front panel and the back panel sewed together. So now what we're going to do is work on the tassels for the edge. So the final step for the Coco cushion cal is to create your tassels. We're going to be making 18 in total, 4 in contrast colour 1, 2, 3 and 5, and 2 in contrast colour 4. So you're going to be using a piece of cardboard for this, and I've cut mine so it's around 8 centimetres in width here, which is just over 3 inches. So what we're going to do is take our colour and we're going to hold this onto our piece of cardboard, and we're going to wrap it around 30 times. That's 1, 2 and 3. We're going to keep going until we've got to 30. So once you've been round 30 times, you can go ahead and snip that off. Now we're going to use the main colour, so you want to take a good length of the main colour and you're going to thread that up on your darning needle. You want to go underneath your strands, like so. And you want to try and make sure that you haven't caught or gone through any of the strands, just like I have there. So I'm just going to take that back out and then go back underneath. So I'm just going to lift it and pull it through. Get this around the centre and go ahead and fasten your yarn. Try and make it as tight as possible. Once that's in place, we can take this off. Slowly bring it off. So this is going to be the top of the tassel. So we're going to leave it as it is for now, and we're going to take another good length of yarn and we're going to wrap this around the top of the tassel. This is a little bit tricky on camera, but here we go. So you're going to wrap it around the very top of your tassel, loosely pull to make sure that your positioning is right for what we're needing, and then once you're happy with that, you can go ahead and tighten it. I'm going to do a double knot. Like so. Just going to wiggle that so it's up at the top, and then we're going to use this tail end here to wrap around 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. I'm going to take my darning needle, so I'm just going to hold that down while I thread up my darning needle. And then I'm going to bury that tail end into the tassel, like so. So at this point, what we can do is snip off that end, and then we are going to cut the tassel where it folds in order to create our full tassel. Once you've made sure that you have got all of those, you can hold your tassel like so, and then just trim off any extra little bits just to make it nice and uniform. You can steam your tassels if you like, to make them super neat, but otherwise that is all you need to do for your tassel. Now we need to attach it to the actual cushion itself. Okay, so I'm just about to add this last tassel into the center here, and I'm just going to point out a little mistake that I've made here. I've actually switched these two colours around by accident, but I don't think it makes a huge difference to the overall look of the tassels. And of course, if you wanted to do the tassels all the same colour or switch them around, you absolutely can. So I'm just going to show you how I'm going to attach this now. So I'm going to attach this into the center by going through this double crochet. I'm going to take one of the strands and pull that through, and then I'm just going to go ahead and pull nice and tight so it's nice and secure, and do another pull, and then all you would have to do is sew in your ends. So I'm actually just going to go into the work, so put my hand inside and then find where this is coming out, and then bring that through, and then all you have to do then, once that's into the center of the cushion, is turn the cushion inside out and sew them all nice and securely. So there we have the Coco cushion cal. Please make sure that you tag myself, Bella Coco Crochet, Crochet Society and Tiam Safari, who is Knit Safari on Instagram, the amazing designer of this cushion. Also use the hashtag Coco Cushion Cal, because we would absolutely love to see your makes and share it with the rest of the community. Thank you so much for joining me for this crochet along. Please make sure that you click that subscribe button to be kept up to date with all of my latest videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you again next time. Bye!